Hi, I'm Ernie Zor, and I'm going to be your chaperone in this Puritas Springs software frequently asked question video about modifying the form templates of some of our apps. I'll be using basic Ohio probate forms, but this tip will work for Cuyahoga County probate forms, Franklin County probate forms, and Hamilton County probate forms, as well as, I think, all of our other probate apps like guardianship, adoption, and minor claims and wrongful death. Why would you want to modify the forms? Well, maybe it has something to do with something that's specific to your county, and you'd like to make that modification a permanent part of the probate app instead of modifying the form in your word processor every time you print it. There's other reasons, but let's get started. For this demonstration, I'm choosing Form 4.1. I'll show you the form in a moment. I cherry-picked it because primarily there's a lot of empty space on the form, and therefore it should be easy to incorporate a change without blowing the format of the form to kingdom come. My goal will be to put the attorney's name and Supreme Court registration number at the bottom of the form. And here we go. The first step is to find out which file to modify. The templates are kept in the RTF folder at, by default, C:\program files x86 /Puritas /BOPF8 /RTF. What I'm going to do is open Explorer and navigate the path where the files are stored. It should be there. Okay. And again, my path is different than the default path. And if you're working with a different app, for example, Cuyahoga County or Hamilton County, that it will still be a different path. So you can't really go by what I'm doing, but you can see where these RTF files are stored. That's where you want to go. Now I'm using Windows 7 Professional, but Windows 8 and 10 are essentially the same. I think here it's called Windows Explorer, and in the later versions it's called File Explorer. Now, the next thing I wanted to point out is that these file names, they don't give you a clue about which form is on. So I'm going to preview it to find out which one it is. It's the supplemental application. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set, again, you might have to do this differently, but I'm going to set to view the contents so that when I click on an RTF file, I will actually see what's in the file to preview. I'm going to click right on down the list till I hit that supplemental application. Whoop, that was it. Okay, it's page 13. That's essentially step one. I found it. Now, before starting this next step, I advise that now that I've found the file, I should make a copy of it in case something goes wrong. If you ever are in doubt about making a copy of a file, it's just so easy. I click on page 13 here, Control-C, Control-V. There's my copy. That hard to do. So I'm going to double-click on the file so we can open it up in Word. I'm going to go to the bottom. That's it. I've made the change. Oh, I will caution you at this point that this is a little easier than what it might be on some of these pages are really, they're set up like web pages, not really word processing documents. So you could probably see these grid lines because I have it set to show them. You just have to be paying attention so that you don't wreck the form when you're making changes. The one thing I'll say is that Control-Z could end up being your best friend, because if you do something and you think, oh, that's no good, just Control-Z your way out of it. Okay, I have it in there, so the next thing is to save my change. I'm going to just exit it, and it'll ask me, hopefully, to save. Yep, and I'm going to say, yes, save. And now, what we can't really see, I'm going to get it out of view mode, and I'm going to put it in I think they call it details. There it is. You notice all these files are pretty low, below 13 kilobytes, but the file we just worked on is 74. And that's because when Word saves a file, it really adds a lot of information about configuring Word that's not really necessary in this instance. So this file will not work now that I've made that change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reopen it in WordPad and watch this. Watch that 74. I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to click on File Save, File Exit. You see it went from 74 to 9. That stripped out all the necessary, unnecessary code, and I wish this was all that had to be done, but there's just one more thing. When I compressed it using WordPad, I actually lost the margin information because WordPad doesn't really store that. So I'm going to open page 13 up in Notepad, and I really could grab any other file in here, like the original version 13 here, or 12 or anything, and I'm going to grab this header. And you notice that margin line there on the last highlighted line? I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it over here where you see it is missing, right on top of that generator line. Save my change. I'm out, and I'm done. Now, let's take a look at that. I have probate program running in the background. Let's print. Whoops, I didn't do that right. I printed whatever was on the screen. I should have went here. Print selected forms. There's other ways to do this actually. 4.1. Oh, I forgot to unselect. Okay, 4.1 is probably right after this. Yep, there it is. I should have unselected the one I didn't want. There it is. I could have made it bolder, made it look a little better, but the point is, that's it. Now, that's a pretty cool thing. And there are some limitations, though. Number one is you can't change what's on the screen. So the screen is on, if I look at 4.1 on the screen, I'm not going to see that modification, only in the printout. That's probably the only important place it needs to be anyway, but just saying. The other thing is you can't include fields in the modification. So, you know, fields, variable information can't be included in the modification. Other limitation is updates. You do an update, it's probably going to put a new template there and erase your modification. So you might want to make a copy of the customized one just so so you don't have to keep doing it over and over again. And not necessarily a limitation, but a note is that I haven't tried this on my Mac, but I don't think it would work because OS X doesn't have a WordPad app. And I'll tell you right up front that text edit, while it seems like it would work, handles RTF files, it doesn't handle tables correctly. So text edit won't work. So it's possible that this technique wouldn't work on a Mac. Well, that's it. There's more that can be said about this process for sure, but in order to keep this video as short as possible, that's all I'm going to say for right now. So I'll close with my usual plug for our book, Law Office Computing, or it's called The Best of Law Office Computing. It's a collection of all the best tips and the most interesting articles from our Law Office Computing magazine, as well as our monthly email newsletter. It's not strictly about Puritas Springs products. It covers all subjects related to using computers in law offices, and it can save you money because there's information about free software, and there's other utility apps that are especially useful in law offices. You can get the ebook from Amazon for only $9 and the paperback for only $12. Hey, the goal of these videos is to make life in the law office just a bit easier. It's that simple. I hope I've done that with this video, and I hope you visit our YouTube channel again. Until you do, I wish you all the best and take care.